Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. We'll give people just one more minute to log on. Hey everyone, thank you again for joining us today. We have a webinar that will be talking about how to extend holiday sales momentum through 2019 with data and artificial intelligence. To begin, let's just go over a bit of housekeeping. In the GoToWebinar panel, you'll see a place where you're able to submit your questions. Feel free to submit your questions at any time during the presentation. If I don't get to it right away, we'll definitely go over all those questions right at the end. The webinar is being recorded and we'll send it out to you guys right after the call. To start, let's just do a brief introduction to AppCard. AppCard processes 700 million transactions a year. Currently, we're in about 1 out of 8 households, have over 20 million shoppers. There's about 4,000 merchants using AppCard. We have 100 company employees. I'm based out of New York in Manhattan. We have a second office in Delray Beach, Florida, and a third office in Tel Aviv. Retail Pro is a point of sale and retail management software used worldwide by companies like Under Armour, Puma, Calvin Klein, cosmetic companies like Benefit, and many other retailers. They're in a good 130 countries to date, and our technologies play really well off of each other's strengths to help retailers put their POS data to good use. While we're on this slide, I'd like to thank our partners at Retail Pro for their continued support. Here you can see a couple more of Retail Pro's customers. Now let's talk a little bit about AppCard's company background, and not really because I want to bore you with all the past accolades of the founders, investors, and all of that, but more because I think it's important to show you guys how marketing has evolved over the last 20 years and how in this case specifically, when history repeats itself, it's not particularly always a bad thing. Our two co-founders are Amikai Oren and Yair Goldfinger. Amikai is our CTO and he's responsible for all of our software and hardware architecture. He was the VP of Research and Development at Vonage Phones for about a decade, building products for a good 40 million carrier network. So at AppCard, we have just about 20 million active users. We haven't quite outgrown his area of expertise, but we're definitely working on it. Yair is our CEO, and although he has a great name, you've likely not heard of him before. You likely will recognize a lot of his contributions that he's made to the tech industry over the last 20 years. In 2000, Yair started a company that was called Datomi, and this was really where the AppCard story starts. Datomi is something that's responsible for what we know today as remarketing and retargeting cookies online. So those are those online ads where if you click on something, you search for something, or maybe you buy something online, an ad that's relevant to you starts to show up everywhere you go. And you're kind of left scratching your head saying, how did they know I was looking at BMWs last night? So this is all Yair's fault. In 2010, Yair sold Datomi to ValueClick, and in 2011, we started AppCard. Datomi is the inspiration for what we do at AppCard and is kind of the linchpin of the advanced marketing system that we have created. Let's pay attention to this part as it's really the basis for understanding the rest of the presentation and the accompanying strategies that we're going to discuss. So with Datomi, what Yair figured out was that you could identify individuals through different profiles that they used on the web, from Facebook profiles to Instagram Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo, and a number of other unique identifiers. Once the individual was identified, you could capture their activity, their clicks, their search history, and even their purchase history to their unique identifier so you could serve up personalized content everywhere they go on the web. So it is this concept that AppCard brings to the brick and mortar world and why we're on this call today. For AppCard, you really had to answer two questions. The first question was, how can I identify shoppers in a brick and mortar setting? Currently, when your customers are going up and down your aisles, they pretty much remain anonymous. Second, if I can identify the shoppers, what kind of information can I capture about them? And AppCard is the answer to both of those questions. The loyalty element not only identifies the shopper, but it also incentivizes them to do so. So in exchange for points, punches, cash back, each customer can raise their hand and self-identify at the point of sale during each transaction. Second, through our integration with Retail Pro, we're actually able to track every single transaction on a SKU level in real time for each one of those purchases. So then what we can do is marry these two pieces of data to really create a unique shopper profile with a running historical database of transactions. Now you can segment your shoppers based on their actual behavior and transaction history in order to target them with relevant marketing content. Now that you know the backstory, the investors will make a lot more sense. First, we have Jerry Yang, the founder and old CEO of Yahoo. From Google, we have Eric Schmidt, the old CEO and chairman of the board. From PayPal, we have Peter Thiel. And then Alexander Rittwanger is a gentleman that joined us last year from Plenty American Express's rewards program. And finally, PLDC Capital is a VC we work with out of the Philippines. On the agenda today, we're going to be going over holiday shopper segmentation, short, mid, and long-term marketing strategies, as well as our unique ability to measure campaign success, as well as return on investment. So now we're going to apply the marketing concepts that we just reviewed to the annual opportunity that is the holiday season. To do this, let's start by asking the question that we need answers to in order to actually develop and execute on our targeted marketing strategy. So what we're looking at here is the holiday shopper opportunity. 20% of annual revenue is generated during the holiday season. 21 to 30% increase in sales volumes during the holidays. The Door Media shows that the average business makes about 20% of their annual revenue during the holidays, and this is definitely something that we need to take advantage of. Finally, and a little bit more dramatically, the pie chart that you see on the right is from the NRF shows, and that shows that about $625 billion are spent during the winter holidays. If you compare it to the other holidays, you can see a major uptick in foot traffic in your stores, but the better question is, how can we actually take advantage of this? To take full advantage of the spike in the foot traffic and the shopper revenue, we need to actually identify these shoppers and segment them into groups that tell us who they are and how we need to communicate with them. So on a high-level segmentation, we can begin to segment customers such as top shoppers, first-time shoppers, regular shoppers, as well as turn shoppers. This seems pretty obvious, but sometimes something as simple as knowing whether they're a regular or new shoppers allows us to actually curate our marketing communication much more directly. Our next segmentation effort will be on the transactional level. So this is a lot more granular segmentation that would actually allow us to create a lot more personalized marketing communications. So here we can take a look at what are the actual products that they bought and also how much money did they spend. A quick example of a transactional level segmentation could be something like, let's say a shopper buys a pair of athletic shoes. We have two specific opportunities here. The first one would be to make a recommendation to them on an additional and complementary product, maybe like a pair of athletic running shorts. The second opportunity would be to create marketing based on the average life cycle of the product. So what I mean by that is that a pair of athletic shoes typically should be replaced once every 6 months. So you may use this type of segmentation to basically market them on their lifestyle, whereas you can target the shoppers that came in 6 months ago and ask them to come back in to grab a new pair when the time is right. We can also identify shoppers on a tiered level base depending on how much they spend. So we could talk about a gold, silver, diamond type of membership that way too. Longer term segmentation could include things like who shopped with us last season and how has their basket actually changed. Next holiday season, what we can do is look back and see and target them based on their early holiday purchase. In the end, the segmentation really has sort of a plethora of different options, and these represent some tried and true strategies. But now that we have the different segmentations, let's actually go into the strategies a bit deeper. In order to begin to segment your customers, on the back end, what we do with our integration with Retail Pro is we are now building customer profiles based on a historical archive of their purchases. So you can start to identify things like how often are your customers coming in, how much are they spending, and of course, what their preferences are. So for example, in the image that you're seeing now, Jessica Smith, she comes in about every 30 days on average, has spent nearly $3,000 in the past year, and is in the 12% of shoppers by spend based on that spend amount. So using this information, we can tell that she's a loyal customer, and we should definitely encourage her to bring friends in. What we can do is identify the top shoppers at each one of your locations and incentivize to come in with a friend next time they shop. We can actually then track how much revenue and how many new customers that Jessica Smith is bringing in for you. Shoppers like Jessica can really be some of the strongest brand advocates that you have, and according to a recent study by Motisa, customers with an emotional connection to a brand have about a 306% higher lifetime value and stick with a brand for an average of 5.1 years versus 3.4 years. Further, they also tend to recommend brands at a much higher rate, so we're seeing a 71% versus a 45% with that. So holiday shopper marketing strategies. Customer segmentation allows us to identify the specific data points about our customers. These data points become useful year-round and can help us to create a data-driven strategy that actually boosts revenue year-round as opposed to a sort of flash-in-the-pan sort of effort. So our strategy is going to consist of 3 different stages: the short, the midterm, and the long term, allowing us to target the shoppers year-round. Let's start with the short term. So here we're going to base things on a high-level segmentation and a little bit of creativity. So this segment is designed to generate immediate revenue post-holiday season. It'll also help to build relationships with your regular customers, as well as turning new customers into regulars, and in turn, top shoppers to brand promoters, similar to Jessica Smith. Our midterm effort will target customers based on product purchases and will actually be designed to now sort of stabilize the customer's buying cycle and generate complementary purchases. So we can then do basket analysis on how we can move those shoppers upwards in your segments. A more long-term effect would be to actually target holiday shoppers at the end of the year, just before the next holiday season. Let's go over these strategies in a little bit more detail. Let's talk about some examples of short-term strategies that you can implement. So for the 30 days after the holidays, some of the short-term things that you can do to generate immediate revenue would be to send 2 different marketing messages. One could be to regulars and one could be to your first-time shoppers. It'll be really easy, and we'll be able to create one template for both groups. So typically your regular shoppers, they're going to need a little bit less motivation, maybe give them 10% off, and we can give your new shoppers a little bit something more enticing like a 20% off. The goal is really to provide your business with that immediate post-holiday revenue, and then the byproduct of this is to show existing shoppers your appreciation further and cementing those relationships and make a jump start on actually having them return as a new shopper. Some of the campaign strategies that we've included here would be a gift card campaign. So it'll be real easy to go into your dashboard and identify the people that purchased a gift card over the holiday season. You could do 2 things with those people in that group. The first one would be to send a 10 or 20% off to that customer and ask them to treat themselves. Another thing that customer could do is actually just forward on that discount so that the person that they gave the gift card to can get the most out of their gift. Now, we can also do a survey campaign, and I'd say it's true that a lot of shoppers during the holidays might not be your target audience for repeat purchases. However, it would always be nice to encourage them to leave a nice review on your social media pages to show how the gift that they purchased was actually received. Our midterm strategies allow us to get a little bit more personal with our shoppers and actually begin to communicate based on specific product purchases. So here what we want to focus on again is stabilizing the shopper cycle, encouraging the complementary purchases, and also moving them up the cycle. So the first thing that we can do is going back to that life cycle marketing. In this particular strategy that you're taking a look at now, we can target the shoppers by what they've purchased and send them a reminder message to make another purchase based on the likelihood that they will need to replace the item. So some of the things that this could work really well would be with cosmetics, fragrances, gifts, maybe skincare. And an example of a message that you could send out would be something like, time to re-up on your new fragrance. Shop our fragrances and earn 25 bonus points. The second method is more of a recommendation based. So in this manner, we can take a look at what the shopper purchased and then send them recommendations for complementary products. So we often refer to this capability as digital styling because you can kind of take a peek into your shopper's closets, see what's on their hangers, and then make recommendations to them on an individual wardrobe purchase. So an example of this could be something more along the lines of, how do you like your handbag? Shop our latest wallets or accessories to find the perfect match and receive $10 off. So this type of marketing we can deploy throughout the year, but the biggest opportunity really kind of lies in the holiday data as there is a sizable increase in purchases during this period, and it'll give you a larger shopper base to target. Let's go on to the long-term strategies. So the long-term opportunity lies in preemptive communication that's leading up to the next holiday season. So by segmenting your shoppers who made a purchase the previous year, you can begin the holiday marketing season a lot earlier with a more personalized approach. So some of the recommended targeting these customers that we say, let's send a message early November. So try to get them in as soon as possible. You could send them a message and say, it's that time of year again, and we wanted to reach out to our best customers to get them started on holiday shopping, as well as saving you a little money as well. So it might be nice to do a VIP shopping event for them. You can also target customers who have shopped on your store on, let's say, Black Friday or maybe Small Biz Saturday, and provide them with a secret incentive for next year, maybe a special gift. Let's go to the repurchase new version. So one other thing that we can do is we can actually target shoppers using their favorite brands and introduce to them the new inventory and updated versions of the items that they purchased last year. So examples of repurchase strategies could be something like, treat your special someone with this year's hot new watch styles. Shop with us this holiday season and receive $10 off. So these could be things like electronics or winter apparel, as well as children's apparel would also be a great opportunity for repeat visits. As you know, kids outgrow these things pretty quickly. So another example of this could be Patagonia's latest children's styles have arrived at our shop. They grow up so fast, enjoy 10% off a purchase of $100 or more. Let's talk a little bit more about how all this is possible. So capturing a shopper's identity, as we discussed earlier in the presentation, one of the unique elements of the AppCard platform is the way that we actually view loyalty. So we view loyalty as a catalyst for customer identification. For years, I feel like loyalty has been sort of a stagnant concept, evolving only from the mechanics of offering, simple punches or points to shoppers, maybe stamping paper punch cards, and issuing those points electronically. I think it would be nice to give you guys a little bit of background on the loyalty industry itself and how it has evolved in the last 10 years. So what we're taking a look at here is the 3 generations of loyalty technology. Sometimes it's hard to argue the benefits of loyalty programs, but I think the hardest part about a lot of people is the process of navigating the marketplace. There's tons of different options out there, and I want to break it down for you in those 3 generations. So the first generation, we want to take a look at technologies that were pretty much simply replacing those physical punch cards that we're all used to. And what businesses would do is they would put a tablet next to the register, and it didn't have any connection to the point of sale, and customers could come in and sign up with their email address. So it didn't actually matter if a customer was spending any money at the store, if they were spending $50 or $10, everybody was going to get that same check-in. Then about 6 years later, second generation loyalty programs were also tablet-based systems, non-integrated, that stood next to the register. But a big innovation in this second generation is that you can now associate your phone number and not only your email address. So that would allow businesses to actually open up the line of communication of SMS marketing, which is super effective nowadays. But it also helped to have the cashiers manually enter the points per dollar spent now. So the customer that was coming in to spend $50 would actually get 50 points, and the customer that spent $10 was only getting 10 points. Now, a problem with that became that by manually entering the points, a lot of the times you see friends and family discounts being given out, and maybe somebody got 500 points for spending $50. So the third generation of loyalty is the generation that we're in now, and these types of loyalty programs are categorized by the integration with the point of sale system. So with this generation, everything becomes automated. So for example, our integration with Retail Pro, you won't have to manually enter any points or punches. We're going to be able to read the transaction right off the point of sale and associate that transaction history, the SKUs that were purchased and the amount spent, with the customer's phone numbers and emails. So then you can personalize text messages, push notifications, and emails using that content. And how do we actually capture this information? Using point of sale based tracking, obviously. So in a brick and mortar setting, there's a little opportunity to capture data about your shoppers. We can't really capture and record what they're searching for like we do online. We can't really see what they're browsing in your aisles and what they pick up and try on but don't buy. So what we can capture is their purchase, which is arguably the most valuable piece of the data that we can get because it actually tells us what motivates them to take their wallet out. So now that we know how to actually identify the shopper and we know where we can capture the information, if we marry these two data points, we can create really powerful data sets that allow us to create the type of segmentation and marketing strategies that we just covered. The key is to run a POS-based marketing and rewards program where shoppers, again, will self-identify during the checkout process, allows us to A, identify the shopper and associate the current transaction with their profile, but B, in turn, we can then use this data to target each individual based on their actual behavior and transaction history. Now, before we get into talking about the different ways that we can actually track the revenue that's generated from these data-driven marketing capabilities, I want to leave you with a couple of tips and hints to running a successful system. I wanted to start off this section with a statement. The success or failure of any customer-facing initiative is going to rise or fall on the shoulders of the customer-facing inner piece of your business. So in the brick-and-mortar world, this is your cashiers. In order for your customers to participate in the loyalty program, your cashiers are going to need to interact with them and acknowledge the program during every single transaction. And so this means that a part of the checkout process has to include a simple question that you've all been asked whenever you go to a big box retailer, and it's simply some variation of what's your phone number, are you a part of the rewards program, or do you have a loyalty number? By asking the question, your participation rates are going to skyrocket. They could literally increase by about 500%. Statistically, when you rely on the actual shopper to remember that you have a program, instead of reminding them, you can expect about a 10 to 20% participation rate. If you actually encourage your cashiers to ask the question every single time, you can expect upwards of 70% participation rate. And uniquely with AppCard, we can actually track your employees and the percentage of transactions that they do using the reward program. So this will help you to identify who might need a little bit of extra training and a little kick in the butt to start asking for the phone number right at the point of sale. The second tip here is to provide shoppers with an incentive to join the program. So depending on the type of information that might be important to you, you could incentivize your customers to provide a phone number for 15 points, provide a valid email for another 15 points, and then that combination, the 30 points, could get them $250 off their next visit, and we could then put an expiration on that to try to get them back in as soon as possible. Essentially, you shouldn't look at this as a discount you're giving, but rather a purchase that you're making. So you're paying the shopper $250 to give you their identity so that you can further track their purchases and then be able to create these relevant content marketing campaigns that are actually going to increase your conversion rates. Lastly, it's always fun to do some friendly competition. So maybe you could run a cashier competition when you first launch your loyalty program and incentivize the cashier to sign up as much people as they can. We can automate a report to your managers that you can update them on a weekly basis, and then at the end of the month, maybe you can give a gift card, or maybe that cashier can pick their shifts for that week. Now let's talk a little bit about AppCard's unique ability to actually measure the revenue that's generated from these campaigns. So since the redemptions are going to be happening on Retail Pro, you can actually now quantify how effective each of your marketing channels is. So suppose you choose to implement a system strategy like AppCard where you can identify your shoppers and you can track their transactions and you can segment them into these groups and send them relevant marketing content. So how do you know that it actually worked? This is typically a difficult question that a lot of marketers hate. Traditionally, it has been really difficult to actually prove the return on investment, but with something like this, not anymore. You now have all the ingredients and the tools that you need to answer this question, and with confidence. So you have the shopper's identity, you have the list of shoppers that received the marketing content, and you also have the ability not only to track which ones came back to the store, but also what they purchased and how much they spent as a result. So for instance, let's say that we target 3,000 shoppers that bought the tennis shoes, and we'll send them that 10% off for their next pair. We can track that 378 of those people actually came back and made a purchase, and you can see that 378 people spent $4,719 as a result. So now again, you can quantify to the penny exactly how much revenue your customers have spent as a result of this text message. The same way it'll work for the emails as well. One of the most powerful ways to prove marketing return on investment is to actually identify a control group along with the target audience. So a control group is a set of people that actually fit the criteria that you've assigned to the campaign, but whom you don't want to send the offer to. So at the end of the marketing campaign, we can actually compare how the members of the campaign performed from a visits and revenue perspective against the control group who didn't receive an offer at all. So this is how you can actually determine whether your marketing offer and messaging had an impact on the target audience. This is the same concept excuse me, that we can determine the true effect of marketing. Let's talk a little bit about Pinky. So Pinky is a nickname for an artificial intelligence system that we offer, and it's composed of artificial neural networks and other machine learning approaches, which are orchestrated and optimized via reinforced learning. Basically, Pinky will analyze your transactional data in real time, and using your transactional history, we can do things like forecast your likely revenue up to 30 days advance in the future. But Pinky can also take into account correlations between neighboring holidays, weekly periodicity, holidays, weather effects, and seasonality. And it doesn't really require a lot of data or training. Let's go over a campaign where Pinky was actually able to identify some of the shoppers that were at risk for churn. So in this example that you're seeing here, Pinky analyzes campaign results as well, and it includes the lift from control groups to actually optimize your campaign targeting. So what this basically means is that AppCard's artificial intelligence learns your shoppers' habits in conjunction with their responsiveness to campaigns in order to deliver the right message at the right time. I wanted to finish up today's presentation just by walking you through a little bit of the cashier and shopper experience as it pertains to Retail Pro, and then we can open it up to some questions. Enrollment is going to be super easy. So the cashier will add an item to the transaction, and you can tap the AppCard rewards button and simply enter the customer's phone number. At that point, you go back to business as usual. We'll read the transaction and we'll award that customer points and punches. Now, existing customer data in the Retail Pro CRM will actually sync with AppCard. So I know that a lot of you guys keep information in the CRM. You can actually look up the customer like you normally would, and if their phone number is already in that profile, it will automatically be generated into the AppCard reward box, and you can simply press OK after that. So it'll be a little bit faster that way. On the customer experience side of things, another awesome feature of AppCard is that your cashiers can send your customers digital copies of their receipts. So as soon as they tender the transaction, your customer's phone is going to buzz, and they're going to have an itemized receipt, which we can brand with your colors and your logos, and it's going to tell them exactly how many points they earned at the bottom. We can also set up the physical receipts to display the points as well, and the number on the digital receipt will always match up to the transaction number in Retail Pro. There's also a couple different things that we can do here for feedback options. If you've ever used something like SurveyMonkey in the past, you can ask customers simply to give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or we are able to actually ask them up to 5 different questions, and those can vary by location. AppCard is fully integrated with Retail Pro 8, 9, as well as Prism. And we briefly touched on this before, but an added benefit of using AppCard for not only the loyalty platform, but also the email and SMS marketing is that you can provide us with a CSV file of your current customer database. We can upload that into AppCard so that you have one dashboard, and then we can start to automatically append the transactions from Retail Pro to the emails and phone numbers now. That will allow you to segment the customers and provide these personalized campaigns, emails, text messages, and push notifications. Each of your locations would have a custom in-app storefront with a branded storefront, the store details, your reward program details, available offers, and detailed receipts. It is important to note that your customers do not have to download anything in order to participate in your loyalty program. All we're going to need is just that phone number as a customer identifier at the point of sale. Here we're taking a look at a couple of AppCard and Retail Pro clients. And that pretty much concludes the presentation for today. I hope that everyone enjoyed it. We do provide consulting services on an individual basis, so I'd love to get to know you and your business a little bit more. I'd be happy to actually show you how we can set up some of these data-driven campaigns along with some of our other functionalities. Even if you're just looking to get some help on your current processes, I'm definitely happy to help in any way that I can. It looks like we do have some questions here, so give me just a moment to pull those up and we can answer them. If you have any questions, again, go ahead and submit them on the question panel. Okay, so question 1 is, what if I'm already using another rewards program? So let's talk back to the centralization of all of your information. We can take all of your existing customer data, just download a CSV file from MailChimp, Constant Contact, your current SMS provider, and we'll be able to upload that into the dashboard that we have. And then again, just start to append the transaction history so you have the full sales cycle in one place. Another question is, what if I need help coming up with campaign ideas? Do you guys provide support? So yes, we absolutely do provide support. When you start with us, you actually get a dedicated success manager that works with you on a full-time basis. They would be able to help you set up the campaigns and in-store promotions. They're also going to be able to monitor the data in the first couple of months. And so we like to have a monthly review if you have the time for us, just to kind of act on the opportunities that we do see. But in our dashboard, we obviously have a lot of email templates, so we can definitely help you out with some of those campaign ideas. Can I have this PowerPoint emailed to me? Yes, we will definitely send out the email with the recorded webinar after this. Another question is, how do those control groups work in AppCard. So we make setting up the control group super simple. It's simply checking a box and telling us the percentage of control group that you want set up for that specific campaign. I'd be happy to walk anybody through a quick web demo where I could actually show you how you set up the control groups and some of those other data-driven marketing campaigns. I have another question here. You mentioned that you integrate with Retail Pro 9. What is your installation process like? So the integration is maintained by Retail Pro, but it is installed by AppCard. We just ask that you leave your workstations on overnight. We can download TeamViewer right on there. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes to download on each individual workstation, but that is included in the support that we do provide. Another question here, is there a mobile application? So yes, there is a mobile application. It's definitely not a requirement for the customers to download it or participate in it, but the app is available so that the customers can check out those current points and also their receipts. But if they don't want to download the app, they can always just go directly on the website and take a look at their points as well as all of their digital receipts right online. I'll stop here just to see if anybody else has any more questions. Go ahead and feel free to submit them on the question panel. And again, this is my direct phone line and email, so if you have any questions after the webinar, feel free to give me a shout. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. This concludes the presentation. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.